First up, we have number 1, Macklin Celebrini. What do we have to say about this mutant, Z?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we don't even really need to say much about Macklin Celebrini because pretty much everything's been said. I mean, I put, to be generous, for the tier 1 to 2. This is the first overall pick in 2024. Yeah, I just had to. I was whatever. Because it also just looked funny. Tier 1, that's not a tier. this is a rank.
I think it would be cooler.
I mean, what he's doing at Boston University this year is unbelievable. 26 goals, 22 assists in 30 games, 48 points. Put up 141 shots on net in 30 games. He's a plus 15, 14 PIMs. He literally checks every single box as a hockey player. People have thrown out the idea, hey, do you think he might stick around for one more year at BU just to play with Cover Your Ears Hoppy? His best buddy, Cole Eiserman, because Cole Eiserman will be there next year.
Are they best buddies?
Yeah, they're very good buddies. I mean, Macklin Celebrini, playmaker. He's got one of the best shots in this draft. He can quite literally do everything in the offensive zone. He drives play, scores goals himself. He also is a great defensive forward as well. He literally just doesn't have any weaknesses. So Macklin Celebrini, it's a no-brainer. He's the first overall pick in 2024. And because of that, tier 1 to 2 could go first or second out of the USHL contest.
Sure. And I got to ask though, Z, Oliver Moore jumped on Fellowship of the Ranks with Joe Smith and I, first guest, and he said that when Celebrini gets drafted by the Blackhawks, because we know what Gary Bettman's up to, he would rather play with Connor Bedard. Do you think that there is an argument to be had that Celebrini could be the better player?
No, Bedard's.
No. So that's tier 1 to 2.
I can't even give you any snarky reply. Bedard is just he scares me. He is a scary person, and
Oliver Moore knows.
I fear him. Yeah. So we can move on to number 2.
Here we go.
Artyom, what a pick!
Yeah, I figured since he was 2, I had to find that.
That's phenomenal. Artyom Levshunov, I have seen him in midseason rankings anywhere from 2 to 10. 6'2", 210 pounds, right shot defenseman, insanely mobile, one of the best transition defensemen we've seen in a draft class in a long time. The defense is going to be a work in progress. It's actually gotten a whole lot better as this season's gone on. He is pretty disinterested in actually playing defense. There's been one of the big criticisms early on, especially this year with Michigan State, is he was the classic, oh, look, his controller died, where he would just stop skating, even just letting everybody just blow by him off the rush, he's gonna cherry pick and wait for a clearance and just go on a breakaway himself. But my God, the offensive upside and his ceiling is unbelievable. And again, because he has shown a whole lot of progression in his defensive game this year, that gives you reason to believe that he can actually at least improve on it to be serviceable, at least in the NHL. But we have not seen a freshman defenseman in college hockey do what he's doing in a very long time. And again, you add in the fact that he's a 6'2", 210-pound right shot defenseman that, when he decides to be engaged, he also is not afraid of playing a pretty mean game. His ceiling is insane. What he was doing in the USHL last year too was a joke. He torched that league too. Again, look at the numbers as a defenseman right now for Michigan State. 32 points in 34 games as a 17, 18-year-old. He is 18. He's one of the older players in the draft, so that always gives him somewhat of a knock, I guess. But I mean, he's putting up video game numbers for a defenseman in college hockey, and he's one of the best skaters we've seen in a very long time. forwards, backwards, like the lateral agility. He is phenomenal. So I decided I had to put him here just because, a couple of, the guy that we have next has not shown any progression. Meanwhile, Artyom Levshunov has actually shown different aspects of his game as the year's gone on. So there's been progress there. But Artyom Levshunov, I think he has a chance to even go as high as 2 or 3 in this draft. I think might be a little bit of a long shot with one of the other giant fucking defensemen that every fucking team in this league loves, apparently. But he definitely has that kind of upside. He is so fun to watch. So that's where we put Artyom Levshunov.
Beautiful. Number 3, the man you mentioned before, Mr. Cole Eiserman, the decommit of your Minnesota Golden Gophers, now going to Boston University to play with his best friend, I guess.
He's coming home. Coming home. Mask it. Yeah. So Cole Eiserman is going to be a fascinating one to watch on draft day. I mean, coming into the year, he was pretty firmly looked at as 2 or 3, him and Celebrini and Demidov. So then you can throw in a couple of other guys that maybe would get in that mix. As the year's gone on, it's been proven over and over again that like his big problem right now is just that he is so one-dimensional. That being said, and the stat line's out of date now because I had no idea when I was putting together the numbers that he had another game. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember. Hey, he scored a hat trick in that goal. So there you go. The one thing that he does do probably better than almost, if not everybody in this draft, is score goals. He has one of the best shots I've ever seen. He puts it wherever he wants it, and he has an absolute cannon. He can score off the rush. The problem is, like, in order for him to score goals, like, he's going to rely on pretty much everyone else on the ice to do 90% of that work. So that's why he has slid down in lots of rankings this year. I mean, you still can't question the upside. The only question is going to be like, all right, well, is his success going to depend on like the environment that he's in? Because if he has to do a bulk of the work to like get the puck for himself, that's going to be a problem. But again, the thing you can't deny is that goal scoring ability. Like, he was legitimately put on this earth to score goals. And he does it better than everybody in this draft. So I think it's 41 games now, 43 goals. But like, in order to be an effective offensive player in the NHL and like at least scratch his potential, he is going to have to become a little bit more multidimensional and not just be that like shooter from the outside. He's going to have to develop a little bit more of an inside game. He's going to have to like learn how to do a little bit of this work for himself. But I mean, you can't knock the goal scoring, and you have to like, he's not going to fall outside the top, like, I don't know, 10, 12. I don't think. I'm sure he'll still go very high. It's just been weird to see like the fall off. I mean, that's dramatic, but he was looked at firmly as number 2. But again, I'm saying this as if like, oh, this has been like a, who was it? Arttu Ratu a couple years ago was like firmly first overall the year before his draft, and then he ended up in like the second round. That's not the case here. We're still talking about a kid that's probably going to go top 10 in this draft, but there's definitely some concerns among pretty much like whether it's like public scouting community, even like NHL scouts have said it before too. Like, he's going to have to not just do this one thing in order to play in the NHL at a high level, but I think he will still. So
it is kind of the most important thing in the game.
Yeah. But if you don't do anything to get the puck, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But I'm still obviously very high on Cole Eiserman. I think he's going to be awesome. And I think he'll go very high in this draft, as he should. Because in terms of just raw goal scoring, my God, it's another very fun player to watch. So we put him at number 3.
Fair. All right, then. Moving on to number 4. Zeev Buium of Denver, who, I don't know. He's a guy that I've seen range so far across, like, more the holistic community of scouting. interested to hear what your thoughts are here.
Yeah, I mean, I think coming into the year, he was probably the tail end of everyone's first round. Another guy, like we talked about this with Levshunov, he's doing something in college hockey that, as a defenseman, as a true freshman on Denver, who's a top 5 team, he has 41 points in 32 games. Like, he is incredible. He went to the World Juniors and lit up the World Juniors as well. I think he ended up being like a +10 in that tournament. And, he's shown some like pretty decent defensive capabilities as well as a young player in college hockey. But what he's doing, like, for Denver in particular, is like even more impressive. The fact that he's doing this on like an absolute contender for the national championship. He's playing like probably 25, 26 minutes a night. And when he's on the ice, he is like running the show. Like, he is running the offense from the back end. So I think even with his like somewhat, I think 180 is generous. I'll tell you, it feels generous for me. But like the offensive upside, it's always been there, but this year he's just taken it to a whole other level against competition that he's never faced before, which is just unbelievably impressive. But I mean, just the fact that you're watching Denver and the guy that's running the show is a 17-year-old defenseman is incredible. And I mean, 32 assists, 41 points in 32 games as a 17-year-old defenseman is unbelievable. I'm very high on Zeev Buium, as our buddies over at Smart Scouting are. I think we're pretty firmly like right around 8. He unfairly probably gets the label as like, oh, offensive defense. We'll see what he could do defensively. I think he'll be fine in terms of like defense at the NHL level. But like, you love the skating ability. Like, you cannot forecheck him either. Like, that's the other thing too. Like, his escapability and like maneuverability around forecheckers and evading pressure, like, he is phenomenal. So he does so much of the legwork for Denver, and he also ends up on the score sheet. So very, very high on Zeev Buium. One of my favorite defensemen in this draft, and one of my favorite defensemen in the past couple of drafts. And I've had a couple draft sons who were defensemen. So love Zeev Buium. I think he will go very high in this draft.
Is he in the running for draft son?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great name. All name team.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be in consideration for that. All right. Next up here, Trevor Connelly, which Z, I had to literally go back and like fact check you when I read through this to make the graphic that he's 6 foot 156. And then
confirmed.
Pulled up these pictures and saw everywhere else that yes, he is in fact 156 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah. So Trevor Connelly is going to be a very interesting player. He's been phenomenal in the USHL this season. He was easily USA's best player at the Holinka last summer. And I mean, he's always been a highly skilled, high scoring player wherever he's played. This year, he's taking it to a whole nother level where, like, legitimately one of the best playmaking forwards, unbelievable skater. The big question with him is this is a very controversial player for like past off the ice issues that many who have like actually looked into it instead of just writing like this ridiculous athletic article. Like, he's taken a whole lot of steps forward, unlike some other players that have been drafted in the past. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. But either way, just in terms of the hockey player, like, he is one of the best playmaking forwards in this draft. Like, he is. Like, the hands are unbelievable. He could score goals himself. Like, in transition, he makes every defender look like it, like, just looks stupid. So he'll be at Providence next year. I think he's going to put up a ton of points as a freshman. Definitely needs to take several steps defensively, as all of these fucking 18-year-old kids do. But in terms of like the base tools or the foundational tools there with the skating, elite hockey sense, and elite like playmaking ability, the big question is just going to be how much the stuff off the ice like several years ago it's going to come back to bite him. I guess there have been scouts on the record being like, I don't know if we can like risk a PR hit, I guess, but we'll see. I'm not going to go too far because I mean, I've obviously never talked to the fucking kid.
Right.
I'm going off of other people who do, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But he is one of the best playmakers in this draft. Like his highlight tape on draft day is going to be incredible. It's electric skill. And like I talked about it last week when we talked about Luke Misa, the ability to like think and play at like breakneck speed. That's Trevor Connelly as well. Like he is always thinking 3 plays ahead and at full speed, and his hands match the pace. Like it's not like his brain operates faster than his hands do, which is always another like key indicator in terms of like hockey IQ and everything. So yeah, very fun player to watch. We'll see what happens with him on draft day, but in terms of upside, it's insane.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where just based on a couple of the swings and misses we've seen with teams taking those PR hits, that hurts him a lot more. Whereas like if this happened 6 years ago, he's probably not even having it affect his draft stock. Especially
that's the situation. Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Moving on then to number 6. Sasha Boer.
We talked about him briefly a couple weeks ago. Very, very intriguing forward coming out of Muskegon. I've told you before how Muskegon weirdly is just able to like recruit some phenomenal hockey players. Sasha Boer, 6'2", 176 pounds. He has high offensive upside. Plays a phenomenal 2-way game as well, and he is fucking mean. I think this is a player. I think he'll go. And I put his tier anywhere from 20 to 30. Again, that's like my own personal, but it's definitely closer to 20. Like the offensive upside paired with the 2-way ability and the fact that he is just at times able to be a bully. He is a very intriguing player. I know a lot of teams really like this kid. I wouldn't even be surprised if someone convinces themselves that they should take him like late teens, because there is plenty of upside, and he is such a smart fucking hockey player too, where it shouldn't take him like a whole lot of time to be NHL ready. Another one, his highlight tape is very fun because there's some like phenomenal goals. He's making plays, and then he's just like putting people through the glass. So I think he'll be a player that NHL scouts are going to love. I think he will be one of their favorites for sure. So I love Sasha Boer. I think he will go closer to 20 than 30. And again, look, I got 71 PIMs. I think there are a couple of 15s. We love that in a guy that just has that fucking aspect to his game, but he's fun as hell. So big fan of Sasha Boer. I think a whole lot of NHL scouts do as well.
Yeah, but he's an effing hawk.
Yeah, and he will be. Yeah, he's a know that guy.
Oh well. All right, moving on to number 7. We've got Michael Haig.
Going to Michigan. Chicago Steel on the USHL right now. Had a slower start to the year, but has really come on strong. He's dealt with a lot of he had a real bad injury either like this summer. Can't remember if he was like training or if it was like towards the end of last year, but that he came back from. He also had some just bad, not the same kind of bad we were talking about before, but it's like just some unfortunate off ice stuff go on in his personal life. And that definitely, I would say, combined with the injury, probably had something to do with the slow-ish start. But since then, he'll play center, he'll play wing. I think he is more than capable of playing either position, but he is a dynamic playmaker that can score goals himself. Again, another guy that plays a very responsible 2-way game as well. He's a great skater. Again, headed to Michigan next year. I want to find a way to have him at the tail end of my first round. I did put his tier literally first pick of the second round to 40. but I think there's a whole lot of upside there. And like kind of like the NHL coaches, just like favorite player, love that guy. That's how I kind of look at Michael Hague. I think by the end of the year, if he keeps playing the way he is now, I think he will give himself a very good chance to end up going the last few picks of that first round. Because again, I do think there is some decent upside there offensively, and you pair that with a nice two-way game. He plays hard as well. So I think he can fit in pretty much anywhere in a lineup, which is always a big bonus. Again, we talked about the ability to play center and wing. So really like Michael Hague, especially the second half of the season. He's come on strong as hell. So wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the year, he's, at least for my own tiers or whatever, would not be surprised to see him sneak into my first round personally. So like Michael Hague a lot. Wish he wasn't going to Michigan.
Yeah, that'd be nice for everyone. And I don't know what it is. I think you're hitting something on your desk that makes it sound like you're in a windstorm sometimes, but we'll get through it. I can still hear it. So, yeah.
All right. We'll get through it.
There's no wind in Boston.
Oh, fuck off.
Number 8, EJ Emery.
Another Nodak guy. Sorry.
Hawks.
Of all the guys on this list, this is the player I'm most interested to see where he ends up going, because he's a right shot, 6'3". I think he's got to be closer to 200 pounds than that. But the offensive stats don't jump off the page, but he does so many things well that in theory should be translating to like offensive numbers. But he's a big boy that skates well, not just like for his size, but is legitimately like a dynamic skater. And he is a solid defender. But like he makes a really good first pass. He can get you out of the zone. He can skate the puck out himself. So in transition, he's effective. And when you're a right shot defenseman that is as effective in transition at 6'3", like that's a player that teams are gonna love. So he doesn't have any goals this year, but he does get 10 assists in 44 games. But he's just such a responsible two-way right shot defenseman that I think I have a few buddies who have him in like the tail end of their first round just because of those like raw tools. I mean, playing on the USNTDP, like you're not, unless you're literally like a 1.5 point per game defenseman, your responsibilities are probably going to be more so like what EJ Emery's is, which is like keeping pucks out of the net and then starting the offense by starting transition and breakouts. So I like him a lot. And I mean, he's also only going to get bigger, which is very funny. But the fact that he can skate as well as he does at that size definitely puts him in a whole other tier. So I like him a lot, and I am curious to see just how he is valued by NHL teams around the league. Because again, like I said, I think it's my buddies over at EP. I think they may have ended up putting him in tail end of their first round. I might be someone else. I can't remember. But a fascinating player. And of course he's going to Nodak as well. So there you go.
Yay. Next guy up at number 9, we've got Matvey. Is it Grine?
Look at that. I think it's Grine. I don't know.
Grine? Yeah, I have no idea. But I got to hear more about this guy. He seems like a beauty.
He is incredible, leading the USHL in scoring right now. Again, Muskegon, weird. I think Bobby Mack had him at the end of his first round, and that he was somewhat known as like a high offensive potential player this year coming in. He's just taken it to a new level this year where he like playmaking ability. He's got a phenomenal fucking shot. So dual threat offensively, and he's got good size. He skates really well. So you're talking about yet another player in this draft class with like all the intriguing tools in terms of players you can work with. Another Michigan kid. He's coming into Michigan. But what he's doing this year in the USHL is like, I mean, he's torching like 64 points in 48 games. He, again, like I said, dual threat offensively. He can be a dynamic playmaking forward. He can score goals himself. So the fact that he's able to create offense in a multitude of ways, and again, the shot's no joke, gives you some kind of two-way ability where he's not like a black hole defensively. So, again, for me, definitely came on the radar. I knew who he was, knew he was eligible. I thought, coming to the year, I thought of him maybe like a tail end of the second kind of guy. maybe mid-round, but like what he is doing in Muskegon this year is phenomenal. Very fun player. Fucking, of course, is going to Michigan again. And again, I think Bobby Mack had him 32 on his list, if I remember correctly. Very intriguing player. Very intriguing. Again, 6'2", skates well, dual threat offensively. You love those guys.
Love that. Last guy then. Number 10, which there's some big names that were left off this list that we're going to get into with honorable mention. So
yeah, I battled
here. Yeah, defend yourself here with number 10, Camille Bednar. Which I gotta say, every picture I found of him, just death stare. This guy just oozes
never
intensity.
smiled in his life.
Like, I want him on my team. He is an assassin. He's gonna kill someone.
Yeah. Having like just over a point per game again. NTDP kid, go to BU, 6 foot, 180 pounds and change. Again, right over a point per game, but like what is impressive is the fact that he is like over a point per game given the ice time he's getting with the program. Again, like you've got a couple of their top guys pretty much taking up all the prime offensive ice time, and like you've got a kid like Camille Bednar, like pretty much being thrown scraps, and like again, point per game. Like he's not playing the most, but again, like he makes plays himself. He's got a great shot, two-way ability again, like kind of the same profile. I think there's more flash and gritty than in Bednar, but like just a reliable player that can give you such solid secondary offense when like he doesn't need that like grade A ice to make it happen for himself. So and I did battle. I had 3 or 4 guys in the number 10 spot. And just like given the step forward that Bednar took over the other guys, I ended up just landing here. If I could do it again, I probably would have put Cole Hudson here, who's coming up next in the honorable mention. But I was gonna like, I've just been so impressed. I've just been like the step forward that he's taken versus the step backwards that Cole Hudson's taken. I think I was must have just been in a mood, but I think it's still a worthy spot for him. But like the fact that he's playing maybe 14 minutes a night, and like when he's on the ice, it's his puck. And again, he can make plays, can score goals himself. He gives you, defensive upside as well. He's a good skater. I ended up putting him here. I still have him like right in the middle of that second round. So, yeah, I like him a lot. I'm very curious to see again where he goes, just because I wouldn't say he's necessarily an unknown, but yeah, I ended up just putting him here because of how impressive he's been this season for the program, given like a somewhat limited role. So I put him at 10 over a couple of the other guys that we'll talk about here in the honorable mentions.
That we will. And how do we want to go about this? Do we want to just read off the entire list and you'll talk about who you want, or are we going to do them one by one?
What's your graphic? Did you have a graphic?
No, I got no graphic for them. I didn't make it that far.
So we could. Yeah. Right. So I can just list off their honorable mentions, and then we can pick a couple to at least talk a little bit about. Honorable mention list: Cole Hudson, brother of Lane. We'll talk about him. Tanner Adams, he's a forward for Providence this year. Teddy Stiga, who I'm trying so hard to get in the top 10. I just couldn't do it. Max Plant, John Mustard, Will Skahan, and Christian Humphreys. Almost all of them USNTDP guys, because that's how it goes. When you're doing a list, that's college hockey and USHL. Let's just start with Cole Hudson. I was kicking myself that I left him out. It's just been a very weird season for him. I mean, especially you look at it, and I mean, like, given the ice time he's getting, he's got 38 points in 43 games, which as a defenseman, that's never, you're never gonna be upset about that. But the dynamic offensive plays that he is capable of, that like everyone knows Lane Hudson for, it's the same kind of offense. Somewhat, probably a little bit more individual offense, even at times. It's just been so few and far between. Like he'll have one game where there's one period where he's taking over a game, then he disappears. He's been pretty reliant on the power play. Defense has been a big fucking problem for him this year. Like, it just hasn't. Like, Lane Hudson has never slowed down. Like, and I think part of it too, I'm wondering if even me trying to be as objective as humanly possible, just the fact that it's Lane Hudson's brother, I think that's always gonna that's probably gonna tint the glasses a little bit. Like,
well, because of how wrong everyone was about Lane Hudson.
Well, it's just like the thing with his brother was just like he did it every fucking game. Like, it was like he just didn't have off nights. The off nights are glaring with Cole, which is why I ended up having him outside the top 10. And there's just been so many more question marks where it's like, even when he is trying to make some of those like game-breaking plays, like he's coughing up pucks at the blue line, like bad turnovers, bad decision-making. So that's just haunted him this year. I still think the upside is very high with him. So I think he should go higher than where well, actually, you know what? I put his tier anywhere from 45 to 55. That's probably fair. Actually, now that I think about it. But I was kicking myself for not having the top 10 in this ranking just because he is so fun when he's on. It's just been so hit or miss and mostly missed this year compared to like coming in. Because I mean, he was firmly at least in the middle of everyone's first round coming in. It just hasn't happened for him. And again, like, it sounds funny, but like as like a defenseman with his profile at this level should be like 1.2, 1.3 points per game, honestly. Like, you see some of the point totals around other junior leagues and it's comical. Like, I mean, you know, like the same Perek, what he's doing is a joke in the OHL. Mm-hmm. So I mean, 5'10", 177, he's not giving you a whole lot of defensive upside, especially this year. I'm hoping I look like an idiot because like when he is on, I talked Hunter Hayton going SportsCenter top 10. I talked that into existence apparently. Because when he is on, he makes SportsCenter, he goes top 10 mode, and it is phenomenal. Like, can be a human highlight reel. Just the inconsistency this year and some of the plays that like he's making, like some of the like bad plays and the bad turnovers that we really saw very infrequently before are popping up more and more often, and it's like gotten like a little bit worse as the year's gone on. I ended up keeping him the honorable mention, and I'm hoping I look like an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, he is more of a BC guy than a BU guy anyway. So.
Yeah. I just have to go to Teddy Stiga, another USNTDP guy. 44 games, 25 goals, 26 assists, 51 points. I was actually really trying. I should have, in hindsight, if I could change. I can't. I'm already here. We're already here. Can't change it now. I would have probably put him in there. I think the fact that he's 5'10", 177 is going to be something that teams use against him. But he is absolutely incredible. Like, two-way ability, offensive playmaker, and he is probably a top 10 smartest player in this draft. Like, and no matter where he's playing in your lineup, he's going to give you the same thing every single night, shift by shift. He is the worst type of player to play against. Like, he's killing penalties. Like, he'll be out there for a whole 2-minute kill the penalty, and then start the offense himself. Like, he is phenomenal. If he was literally like an inch taller, I think teams obviously wouldn't use that against him as much. But even at his size, like, he plays tough. And like, it's not like you're just nudging him over and like easing him off pucks. I think he is also going to end up as one of my draft sons. I should have put him in my top 10. I'm kicking myself for not doing it. I have him in the 45 to 60 tier. I could see him going before that just because like he is a player that I think teams are going to try to convince themselves that 5'10" isn't real because he does not play like he is 5'10", which means nothing. I just hate that's a thing, dude. It drives me fucking nuts.
Pronman will remind them. He will.
Yeah, they'll be about to pick him and Pronman run on stage. Reminder.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. <laughs>
Make sure
I love Teddy
you read
Stiga.
the iTunes agreement.
Also, probably I don't know how you feel about this. Honorable mention all name team. I love a simple first name followed by a low-key sick last name. So I think he's going to be an honorable mention. Teddy Stiga. That just sounds like a beauty. Is a beauty.
I can
Love
see it
Teddy
being
Stiga.
considered. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll cross that bridge. There you go. But yeah, he's the man. BC guy. Love that for me. Let's see.
Is that it as far as guys that you wanted to highlight, or are there any more honorable mentions that you also are kicking yourself that they're not number 10?
Not kicking myself, but I think the two on this list left, I think John Mustard, great name.
Great.
Waterloo Black.
That's what I thought you were getting into when you said that. I thought that was going to be your transition out of Teddy Stiga.
No. He's awesome. He plays mostly center, but again, plays both center and wing. Waterloo Blackhawk, 6'1", 184. Just a solid two-way center with serious offensive upside. And he's got a real mean streak to him as well. But he's such a smart fucking player. Where like another guy that can absolutely kill an entire penalty for you and then create offense himself. But I think he will go higher than where I think he'll go early second. I have his tier anywhere from 45 to 60, which probably feels fair because I think while there's definite offensive upside there, I just question how much at the NHL level. But he's another guy that's going to make himself very useful anywhere in your like middle six. So I'm not kicking myself for not putting him in the NCAA USHL top 10, but another guy that I think teams are going to love, just given the physicality, the two-way ability, and how smart of a player he is. So I like Judd Mustard a lot. Great name.
Nice.
Last one. Will Skahan. Left shot D-man. Again, program guy. Also headed to BC. Beauty. 6'4".
All the Boston guys. Weird.
Yeah, we're actually, that's everyone. Yeah. I should put them all in my top 10, actually. Headed to BC, 6'4", 195. Oh, well, I guess 193, whatever. Not big offensive numbers, but phenomenal skater, especially given the fact that he's 6'4". He is an elite defender. I think teams are gonna find a way to take him above where I have his tier, 50 to 60. I think he's easy early second round caliber guy, given just the fact that he's got that size and skating ability. And I mean, like, while the points aren't there, another guy that like is more than reliable in terms of breaking pucks out, great first pass, starting offense that way. But defensively, just like incredible. And he's big, he's mean. So I think teams are going to love him too. And another guy, I know I have buddies who have him like not in their first round per se, but like early second. So I like him a lot. Very curious to see how he the rest of the season goes and where he ends up. And yeah,
we got through the top 10 and like 4 guys that you thought should have also been number 10 on your list. This is great. And all
I was kicking myself for not putting Felix Ungersorum in here, even though he was draft eligible last year. He is not a college hockey guy, but he is the greatest hockey player of all time.